The Indianapolis Colts just signed an absolute tank of a human who could have an immediate impact on an already very dynamic and explosive aspect of this Indianapolis Colts offense. What's going on? I'm Elijah from Sports Talk Indy, where we cover all things Colts every single day. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, comment, leave your opinions in the comment section. We love to engage, love to be a part of the community. But today we're talking about a possibly under the radar signing for most, and that is NC State tight end turned running back Trent Penix. And on the surface of this, it probably went under most people's radar. I wouldn't blame anyone for not knowing who this is or how this is going to impact us. But this running back room isn't as deep as I think a lot of people view it. It is highlighted by, obviously, Jonathan Taylor. But most running backs don't play more than, even the best running backs in the league only play 80 to 85% at most of the snaps. They're not on the field every time, and that's important because we want longevity out of Jonathan Taylor. Leave him in there for the explosive plays. And the Colts have had a dynamic two-person running back room for several years. They had Marlon Mack and Nyheim Hines for a couple years. Then they had Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. That was explosive on a very minimal offense. And now we get to see what's going to happen with Jonathan Taylor and possibly this Trent Penix guy. And again, on paper, this doesn't look impressive. This doesn't look that spectacular. But I think that there's more under the surface of this than meets the eye. So let's talk about Trent Penix. Trent Penix is 6'3", 235 pounds, spent 5 years at NC State, birthplace, Raleigh, North Carolina, all that. But when you look at this and you look at his statistics, again, nothing exactly screams or jumps off the paper. But there's more here that meets the eye. So let's go over it. 2018, receiving, he had 5 receptions for 74 yards, 14.8 carries and a touchdown. 7 receptions for 80 yards, 11.4 and a touchdown. 3 receptions, 11 yards, 3.7 and a touchdown. 16 receptions, 236 yards, 14.8 and 3 touchdowns. 8 receptions, 111, 13.9, 2 touchdowns. And then finally last year, 15 receptions, 190 yards, 12.7 average, and 3 touchdowns. So he had several touchdowns, but again, nothing exactly screams off the paper. But I think when you look at this guy's the size for one, and let's make a size comparison right off the bat. Let's just get it out of the way. His size is almost a on-paper match to Derrick Henry, 6'3", and Trent Penix is 237, 240 on a good day, soaking wet with pads on, and then you make the connection to Derrick Henry, who is 240. So I think that this is incredibly important and something that, again, I'm not making the obvious comparison to Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has he's had longevity. He's been able to do this for a lot of years. But one thing that Derrick Henry has going for him is that he is an absolute beast of a human. He's a refrigerator. And you look at the pictures of him, there was that running back room in Alabama where it was like him next to Mark Ingram, and Derrick Henry just towers over him. Jonathan Taylor is not a large man. He's not one that is known for his size. But then when you look at Trent Penix RAS, which is the relative athletic score, which is something that we've looked at a lot. And I think there's even more here that meets the eye, even under this. The Trent Penix tight end running back, his RAS score is 9.5. Again, we can't talk about this enough, that the Colts draft guys with a good RAS score. And that goes into the composite explosion grade is elite, with a vertical of 9.38, a broad jump of 9.55, 40-yard dash at 4.6. Holy smokes, this guy ran a 4.6 at that size with a 20-yard split. All of these are elite numbers. The shuttle was elite, and the 3-cone was elite. This is absolutely incredible. But I think it's interesting here how they have him listed, and we'll get into that in just a second. Jonathan Taylor is not a large person, but Jonathan Taylor thrives on his ball carrier vision. But there's sometimes that Jonathan Taylor gets stuffed because of his size. Because if there's a weak spot in the O-line, which we know that there in the past has been, that Jonathan Taylor can struggle because it takes a while for runs to develop. But on these 3rd and 1 situations, we've talked about the explosiveness of Jonathan Taylor. We've talked about Anthony Richardson. But likely there's a lot of times that you just need to be able to get that yard and get a fresh set of downs. This guy carries that ability just naturally. I mean, the dude can just fall forward and gain a yard. 6'3" and 237 pounds is really well, but they have him listed here on the RAS score. I think it's very interesting because I think this is where the Colts want to go with this. They have him listed as a fullback prospect. So tight end, running back with a fullback prospect. You don't see the fullback utilized a lot in today's NFL. You saw several years ago with Peyton Hillis of the Madden cover, one of the first guys to really get the attention. You get to see Kyle Juszczyk from the San Francisco 49ers, and I think that the Colts are wanting to implement more of this ground pound running style, more of this just run it down your throat style, and I think this is going to be this could be really cool. I'm very curious to see how it pans out. Obviously, he went through minicamp. He's still on the team. They obviously see something that they like in him. And I would be really, really excited to see how they're going to be able to utilize a guy with both the hands of a tight end, the size of a running back, and the position of a fullback. This could be really exciting and add yet another layer to this already incredibly dynamic offense. I think when you look at what a guy like Shane Steichen can do, what a guy like Jim Bob Cooter can do, when they have a young team that's very formidable and moldable. Trent Penix is obviously very moldable. He's played 3 positions already, played them over 5 years, was able to come in on an undrafted free agent contract and be able to do all this stuff. I think that there's hope for a potential of a really good player coming out of this. And so I would be really excited to see what the rest of the offseason looks like, what the rest of the OTAs look like, what the rest of training camp looks like, and then even further to go into what does it look like to see him in the preseason when we get to see him. And then we talked about the quarterback Bean and Kelton Slavis, all these guys who have the opportunity to show out in this 3 or 4 game split and be able to see, is this guy going to be able to do something that's going to be, add another aspect to our already dynamic game. But at minimum, it adds another aspect of depth into this running back room that is, again, highlighted by Jonathan Taylor. But then from there, you go Trey Sermon, Evan Hull, and then it really doesn't go much deeper than that. So I think this is important. I was really curious to see if they would sign or draft a running back after the draft or sign a veteran running back that's available, and they didn't. So clearly, again, they seem to like what they have, or they didn't want to spend the money on someone that they didn't have or didn't have the availability for. But to add a guy like this who can maybe be our Kyle Juszczyk, I mean, that would be incredible to be able to see what that guy does, where he is able to week in, week out, be able to add another layer to the San Francisco offense. We have a lot of the same aspects of the San Francisco offense with Anthony Richardson at quarterback. Brock Purdy's been incredible, but imagine what a guy like Anthony Richardson could do in that offense. I think this is going to be really cool. His 9.5 score on the RAS out of 10, this ranked 27 out of 518 fullbacks from 1987 to 2024. So it's impressive numbers. I'd be really, really curious to see what this looks like and if the Colts are able to capitalize on a player with this, again, unique size and skill just naturally, and if they're able to capitalize on that and get a good player going forward. I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing and being a part of this community, and we'll see you on the next one.